What is up, YouTube? This is Hyperion, here Chef with the Cap, back again for another video. Now, this week I'm going to be taking a quick pause from my little mini-series, Top 5 Moments in Yu-Gi-Oh! Partially because I really don't have the time to make it this week, and also because I'm not done with my list for this week. But I do have something else I do need to talk about, because it is actually about what would normally be that typical time of year, Banlist talk. Now, I'm not saying that the Banlist is going to be coming out soon. At this point, we have no idea when it's going to be coming out, since last time they updated the ban list, they said they're not going to be doing it during the regular 3-month interval that they've been setting up. They're just going to do it whenever they feel the need to. So, we don't have much to go off of, but we are now in the 3rd month of that format, so that means that logically, based on what we've seen so far, it would make sense that they would hit it next in October, just based on what we have to work with. I don't know if there's any like major tournaments coming up that might be a determinant for what goes on or off the ban list. I'm not here to talk about like all of my predictions for that. Most of my predictions remain the same from previous years, you know, except for changes that have already been made. I'm here to talk about a specific set of cards that have been dodging the ban list like Tom in an old Tom and Jerry cartoon, my bad, Jerry in an old Tom and Jerry cartoon. Tom's the one that always got hit. No, what I'm here to talk about today is the cards that premiered in Duelist Alliance. You know, those decks that have somehow been able to avoid any serious hits since their release. Those decks are Shadalls, Teller Knights, and to some extent Burning Abyss, even though they had Tour Guide hit to 1. Now, these cards have somehow been just evading the TCG ban list like you would not believe. Even though they're still really, really good decks, they're still prominent cards in the meta, and it really blows my mind that they're still untouched, even though the OCG has done a lot to hit them. And it's not like they're still selling the packs either, so really, it boggles my mind why they haven't actually done anything about it. But there's not much we can do about that. I'll just tell you guys what I think should and should not be hit within these archetypes, and let's go ahead and get started on that right now. Alright, so here's pretty much everything I think within these archetypes that either came out of Duelist Alliance or could be problematic, or both. So we'll start off with the one that I feel probably can avoid being hit the most, and that would be Burning Abyss, since they've already had their hit. People still do think that they are a bit of a problem. I personally have not faced off against a lot of Burning Abyss decks, so I can't really say that much. However, I do still realize that this deck is fairly powerful. The cards I feel are the biggest problems in this deck are Sir, because of his ability to essentially act as a Monster Reborn, Graph for being able to special summon Burning Abyss cards from the deck, and Skarm for being just a searcher, even for their 1 tour guide. Those are the monsters in the main deck I could see getting hit, potentially. Nothing drastic, like maybe just a 2 for any one of them. I can't see all of them getting hit, honestly, just, you know, a small hit on them, because, well, yeah, if anything, maybe Graph, just because being able to pull things out from the deck is kind of ridiculous. He's the only one I could really see amongst the main deck monsters getting hit hard. This card, however, needs to be done with. Fire Lake is too damn good of a card, and has been that way for too damn long. So, on top of being able to just send 2 Burning Abyss monsters to the graveyard, aka setting off their effects, its secondary effect is far too powerful. The fact that it's targeting up to 3 cards on the field and destroying them, and not just 3 cards, is just absurd. I mean, it's not like that's a hard condition to me, having 2 Burning Abyss cards. They special summon by... Well, actually, no, if you have this inherently, you can't do that, but... Regardless, if you just special summon 2 Burning Abyss monsters, set Fire Lake past turn, you can just activate it on your opponent's next turn whenever the hell you feel the need to. It's a ridiculous card, and if they apply the same logic with, like, Necroz of Trish, where you have to have 1 in each area for it to be, you know, possible to use, then fine. Or if it was as difficult to get out as regular Trish, where it is optional to miss some of them. But the fact that it's so easy to work with and it just does so much and it's so hard to get around, honestly, I could easily see this card going to 1 or potentially even being banned. And finally, they have Dante. I don't see anything else from their extra deck being a real issue. None of their other spell traps are being that big of a deal. It's pretty much those and Dante. And Dante, I could honestly see only going down to like 2. Mostly because if you do take him down any further than that, the deck kind of loses what makes it so good. I could see an argument for putting him down to 1 though, but he does not need to stay at 3. 3 is just ridiculous. Pretty much all I got on them. Next up, we're going to go ahead and move on to one of my most hated of these 3, the Teller Knights. I know it's kind of weird going backwards, but just go with me on this one. So, hilariously enough, when I was actually going through the cards for Teller Knights to throw on this, I was surprised at how many I saw. I mean, those of you guys who aren't aware, yeah, there's quite a few Teller Knight monsters. I had no idea so many of these guys actually existed. I mean, this is ridiculous. And I've only ever really seen these 3. Well, okay, fine. There's him too, but really, who cares about him? He just sets up Altair. And if any of them, I could easily see either Altair or Deneb being hit to potentially even 1, honestly. If Vega were to get hit, only to 2, really. I couldn't see anything more than that. Altair is really the bigger issue, and Deneb is just their searcher, so... And since it's just 1... Oh no, it's a Teller Knight monster, my mistake. Yeah, it's just a little bit ridiculous to me, so I could easily see one of these guys getting hit to 2, maybe even 1, honestly. However, the big issue these guys have is actually this guy right here. It's a Teller Knight Triver? Yeah. First of all, even though he says 3 level 4 Teller Knight monsters, that's not hard for this deck to do at all if it's really trying. It's effortless, honestly. And the thing that makes this so annoying is that once it hits the field with an Xyz summon, it compulses every other card on the field. There's not really a counter for that. You can't just, like... You can't Starlight Road that. You can't negate the effect of destruction with that. It's a compulse effect. It's so hard to get around that, and it's just so damn good. Plus the fact that he is himself a light monster, that means he can get support from things like Honest. And then he can also just send a random card from the hand to the graveyard just by detaching. And then, as long as he still has Xyz material when he does die, you can just special summon another Teller Knight monster from the graveyard. And then when that happens, they get off all their effects. He's just too good. He needs to, at the very least, be put to 1, because this guy is just ridiculous. I'd personally love to see him get banned, but quite honestly, that's really the most I can see with him. He's too good of a card for this deck. I suppose you could argue taking other things like Rhoda, which are indirectly helping the deck, but I feel like that would hurt too many other decks, but at the same time, it would also by no means surprise me if they did that. And finally, we move on to the final archetype that arrived in Duelist Alliance, and honestly, the one that needs to get hit the most, and ironically, also the only one of these I use, Shadal's. Now, there are other Shadal monsters, but honestly, main deck-wise, these are the only ones that matter. They did give us Hound and the Zephyra, but yeah, no one uses those, and for obvious reasons. But yeah, so if any of them I could see getting hit, of the main deck monsters, for being completely honest, the only one I could really see getting hit would be Falco here. And that's just because he's the Monster Reborn of the deck. And he's a hilariously good card. He can, when he flips, he just gets another Shadal monster face down, which is how they get their first effect. And then if he's sent by himself through card effect, he just special summons himself right back. So he's easily one of the greatest, fusion materials for this deck. Because you can just play Polymerization. Send Falco and who the hell ever else you want. Falco's effect will then activate. You can special summon him right back down to defense mode. And then if your other material happened to be a Shadal monster, or if you just have another Shadal monster in your graveyard, once he's flipped, or even just attacked in general, his effect will go off, special summoning the other one. It's just too good of a card. And honestly, 1400 defense isn't terrible, so especially with today's game having some weaker monsters in there, it's a decent amount of defense, I think. I could easily see him going down to like honestly one. Um, I feel like two might be a bit more realistic, but that may be my own biases coming into this since I do actually use Shadal's, but I could see one happening honestly. Hedgehog maybe, just because he's the searcher, but I don't feel like he's quite as good. If anything, just knock him down to two, but I really don't see him being that big of a deal. The only other one I could also see is Squamata, just because of his sending effect, being able to send another Shadal card, which could be used to send something like Shadal Core to recover one of your fusion cards. Which actually does bring us to the fusion cards. I've been saying Shadal Fusion itself needs to get hit, like down to one, just because of its ability to special summon from with materials from the deck. However, now that Red Eyes are a thing, and this is technically a more limited version of Red Eyes Fusion, that feels like I might be barking up the wrong tree now. And as much as I really, really do not want to say this, I'm going to have to let my personal biases go on this one and say that El Shadal Fusion needs to get hit. Because as much as I love to play it, a quick play fusion card is stupid. The fact that you can attack with all your monsters, chain El Shadal Fusion during the battle phase, and then punch with something bigger like a construct is ridiculous. This card needs to go down to one. I don't want it to, but for the sake of the game, I'll swallow my pride on this one. And that just leaves their extra deck, El Shadal Winda and El Shadal Construct. I realize there are others, but honestly, no one really uses them, and even if you do use them, who cares? I could see Winda getting hit, but I feel like it's not as big of a threat. If anything, it's can't be destroyed by opponent's card effects, and each player can only special summon once per turn. It's the only real problem. And while 22 is tough to get around, there are tougher monsters to get around. Like, you could just Dark Claw and get rid of this. Construct is the real threat, because every good Shadal deck revolves around having a bunch of light monsters, like Lightsworn, Artifacts, or Star Seraphs. And the fact that it just gets rid of any monster it battles at the start of the damage step, as long as it's been special summoned, it's really hard to get around that. There's really no easy way to get around a construct without using like Raigeki and stuff. And then it'll just recover the fusion card it got and just special summon another one. I would say this card could probably go down to like it probably needs to go down to one or get banned. One of the two. And that's really all I got for you guys on this one. Again, the only reason I did this is just because it's getting close to at the time you would think that these would start happening for like Banlist predictions and stuff. And honestly, Duelist Alliance cards need to get hit. The fact that they've been dodging the ban list for as long as they have is just annoying, unfair, and honestly at this point unreasonable. There's not making a profit off these cards anymore. They need to take care of this. This is a secondary market at this point. I cannot remember the last time I saw a Duelist Alliance pack anywhere. So yeah, get on it, Konami. These cards need to get hit. But that's all I got for you guys for this one. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are these the cards that need to get hit? Was I wrong on that, or was I too lenient on some of these cards? Or was I being too big of a hard ass on certain ones, like Burning Abyss, who's already technically been hit? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below with that. Also, anything else you might like to see, like my page on Facebook. It's the same as it is here. There's a link in the description down below. Don't forget to also like the video and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, peace.